I have a question for you. Do you have swollen ankles and or calf muscles right now, or maybe for the past couple of days? I know I have, and it's not because of lack of exercise or not enough. It's the new moon. Welcome to the new moon in Aquarius. So, for those of you who don't know me, this is Irlianna Samsara. This is episode 232 of StarSound Speaks, and we're going to talk not only about the new moon and king tides and what you need to know about them, but also some practical remedies for dealing with our calves and ankles in this Aquarius new moon, as well as a few tips about the week ahead, the astro weather, and a fantastic idea from my dear astrologer yogini star sister, Erin Reese, who wrote those fabulous books last month. We interviewed her. If you haven't seen those interviews, definitely catch them on Bindi Girl Adventures as a spiritual pilgrim in India. But she came out with something, and I'm going to share it later, about vision boards. That takes vision boarding into a whole new level, and I want to share it because this is the real new year, right? So there you go. Anyway, for those of you who don't know me, welcome, welcome. My name is Irlianna Samsara, and I do Hellenistic or ancient astrology blended with modern, and I use whole sign houses. So in this episode, oh, by the way, if you like and enjoy this content, please feel free to leave a comment below, like, share, subscribe, hit that little notifications button, and this wild and crazy podcast, but with newly done hair, will land in your inbox. So anyway, having said that, let's move on to the new moon. Okay, new moon, 1 degree of Aquarius. What's with the swelling? Well, of course, a moon, usually it's a full moon that brings that kind of thing to the right, the full moon being full. But in this case, we have a perigee moon. So a perigee moon is more newer parlance. They call it a supermoon. And that is when the moon is closest to the earth. So when we have this perigee moon or supermoon, it can very much bring what is now called king tides. So when this is a new another new phrase called a king tide. It used to be called a spring tide, but that's very confusing because you think it means it only comes at spring. But what it represents is king, thinking just king meaning big. And this is when our tides, because the moon is, normal full moon, you have high, low tides anyway. But when you have a perigee new or full moon, they are very, very exacerbated as well. So there's more of a gravitational pull. Think of like taffy, right? So it's like the Earth and its oceans are kind of getting sucked up and down. So there's more of a dramatic high tide, low tide. So if you're living in a coastal area, you obviously want to take note. I'm bringing this up because, well, obviously California, you guys, you've been through hell the last few weeks. Unfortunately, this is not going to really bode well for for these coastal areas. And I'm thinking about all the flooding and such. Plus, you got to remember, the moon is still out of bounds until Saturday evening around 11, almost midnight Eastern time. The moon still will finally leave out of bounds, and it's been there for a while. So that also creates, so there's a lot of very factors that are very exacerbating these conditions. Out of bound moons, perigee moon, king tides. So I'm thinking also about with Florida and California, and I want to show you the chart here, sharing my screen with the chart for California. Notice here, I'd love to say that this is over, but it's not. Many, many factors, but just in terms of the state of California, and if you're listening elsewhere in the United States, guess what? It all affects us because what is it? How many? Is it 2/3 of our produce comes from the Central Valley, from the San Joaquin Valley? So this has implications, obviously, for millions and millions of people that are nowhere near California. So we want to bear that in mind. Anyway, you notice here, natally, California has Pluto and Uranus conjunct in a karmic degree, 29 degrees of Aries. Well, transiting Pluto here is barreling down and right on that, in that tight square, and it's going to get even tighter. And then, of course, as we know from previous conversations about Pluto and the ingress into Aquarius, in the end of March, March 23rd, Pluto's going to go to 0. It'll hang there. It'll retrograde. So it's not over. This is going to come back later in this year. So that it's going to stay in that tight square for, really dance across that square for the next almost 2 years, at least, a year and 3/4. Not until November 2024 does Pluto go at 0 and can continue on into the degrees of the zodiac. So it won't let up until that point. So that's a lot of really deep, you see those pictures of the infrastructure, of the roads on with ripped out, and you could see underneath the pavement, the asphalt and all that dirt underneath, cars falling in that. So very much a Pluto and Capricorn thing. Capricorn ruling structure, government infrastructure, roads, bridges, tunnels, right? All of that being affected. So this, you can see it at work in the chart of California. So you can also see it in the chart of Florida. This particular new moon for Florida, I'm like, wow. Let's just take a look at that here. Hold on just a second. Okay, Florida. All right, Florida, let's have a look at you. This particular new moon takes place in its 9th house, and as you can see here, there's a stellium of planets for the state of Florida. We have Saturn, Neptune, Venus, and Mercury, all in the sign of Aquarius. So this one is very, very much highlighted as we progress through the month. But for this new moon, which happens 3:53 p.m. Eastern time, Saturday, tomorrow, the 21st, again, watch those king tides. We've got Venus is right over natal Venus, and also Neptune, right? So Neptune and Venus are natally conjunct, and as the sun, as we move through Aquarius season, the sun's going to be hitting upon these. But notice how Saturn is exactly over that Neptune. Florida is just finishing up its 6th Saturn return. Interesting, right? It's been around since 1845, this state. And well, we won't get into all the details of that. I've covered that in other podcasts. We do want to look and see, like, wow, here's this this focus and this ending, and there's a lot of constriction and challenge around matters of the sea and the oceans with Neptune there. So taking this very seriously is definitely up for everyone who's in the state of Florida. The tourism industry, Orlando being the #1 tourist spot in the world, and obviously, all of that going on, and the coastal flooding, which, as we know, very much so with Miami, even in quote normal times without a king tide, they get flooding in these certain neighborhoods. So I also want to point out that Jupiter, now he's back in Aries, and for this full new moon, he's exactly conjunct Uranus. So that can bring a lot of exacerbated weather events. And so we just want to, point that out, and, not exactly a jolly ride. It can just, remember how Jupiter, being that the gas pedal, can bring things to the fore. Also politically, the governor, Ron DeSantis, just talked about how he was banning an AP, advanced placement high school course, that gets you college credit. Well, they put a new one together on African American studies. And this is the input of hundreds of college professors and university professors around the country that have inputted on a very highly curated from many different sources to put together this new program. They have hundreds of pilot schools. It's going to be coming online in the next year, 2 years. Well, he banned it. So, welcome to that, new moon in Aquarius, folks, because he said it was not accurate. So I'm sorry that, it seems like his, historical, his professorial skills are far better than the hundreds of people who have put in. But you can see this at work, this slowdown and a challenge with things, and Jupiter right on that Uranus, creating this very unsettling, catastrophic news, when you consider that. And interesting, because Mars is the Jupiter, the ruler of Mars is in Jupiter. I'm sorry, I can't speak. Mars is in Sagittarius with the Florida chart. So you can see how there's this combative element around being right. And you know, there can be entitlement and arrogance and being right and this quest for, you know, my way, the highway. So this is what's at play right now. You know, I be interesting to see the outcome of this, because it's harsh news, you know, when a governor is banning information, and a very, very highly curated information. So the censorship idea, the you know, the shutting down of that, very much at play here, and so so there's that. But anyway, going back to the so there's king tides, again, watching that, Florida, California. I'm being very aware of that. I want to talk about the swelling. If you're feeling your feet swelling or ankle swelling, especially ankles and calves, because 1 degree of Aquarius rules the side. Actually, they said it's the left calf. Amazing how they can get degrees down to exactly what part of the body. But regardless, Aquarius always rules the ankles and the calves. So obviously, perigee, supermoon, right? Big tides, and of course the tides of our body. So we are feeling this, and there's a lot of you know, the opportunity to relieve a lot of inflammation. And so I just want to bring that up to you, because I've got here, let me pull this up just a second. Okay. Yeah, so what I wanted to talk about was, there are just, you know, some remedies that you might find that might comfort you, because king tides will always magnify, obviously, emotions. Water rules is, you know, connected with Cancer, and the emotions, the tides of our own internal tides, and the ebb and flow of life. And so there could be some tensions, and there could be inflammation in the body. This would tend to give inflammation and spike inflammation because of that pull, the excess pull on gravitation. So a gravitational pull. So just make sure that over the next few days through the weekend, you know, try to lay low, try to stay away from like inflammatory, like acidic foods are very inflammatory. So, you know, try to eat like a healthy alkaline meal that's non-inflammatory. Say, for example, you know, fresh green juices, like that, like something very calming to the system. And, you know, certainly talking about calming, disengaging from conflict. Tensions can be very high like that. So focus on, you know, being very, you know, in that Aquarian moon is like, how can I disengage my reactive self and just come into this like quiet, peaceful, rational thinking. Meditative practices, breath work, very, very good. Wonderful. Hey, you know, it's Aquarius season. Aquarius is all about, you know, speaks to the modern ruler being Uranus, the traditional ruler being Saturn. So being very disciplined about letting go of the old things that no longer serve, and bringing forth that which is the right thing. There's an ending quality to Aquarius, to this full moon. There's like something sad coming to an end, but knowing that things move on. And I just want to say, you know, one image that came to me about this was like, think of the Olympics, the closing ceremony, this new moon in Aquarius at 1 degree with that Altair conjunction fixed star. It's almost like this, it's a sad ending in a way, like you see the Olympics ending, but it's also beautiful because in Aquarian, it's all about humanitarian work, right? Everybody coming together. So if you imagine this metaphorically representing the closing ceremony of the Olympics, where you see this huge display of, hey, look how nice it is when we all come together, regardless of our countries. The countries unite, but there's something bigger that unites us, the spirit of goodwill and humanitarian goodwill. So yes, there is this sad part about something coming to an end. It's kind of bittersweet, but luckily we have Jupiter in Aries, you know, and so now that we've got this new moon, it is like our new beginning. Finally, it's here, and using the optimism and confidence of Jupiter marching forward in Aries, you know, to ignite our goals and to get passionate and spirited again and confident about the future. So anyway, you know, it's interesting too with Jupiter is at 4 degrees so for this new moon. So that is exactly where it was in June of 2022. So if you look back in time, whatever was going on for you, maybe this is the time to get rekindle some enthusiasm and confidence and hope and optimism about maybe something you were working on at that time, a project or something. Being bold and courageous is certainly, the Jupiter in Aries way. Just don't, don't get too arrogant. Try to keep a break on the arrogance, but I will say that it's certainly giving us a lot of adrenaline to move forward. Whenever there's retrograde planets, it's always very slow going, and it's not running as where we want to run. So it's all about patience, cultivating patience. But now I feel with the Jupiter having moved forward, Mars, Mercury, and now Uranus. All planets will be direct. Uranus turns conjunct, which brings us into this week's Astro, right? The big highlight of this Astro season is Uranus is going to station direct. It's already at its station direct point, and it's going to go direct at 14 degrees, almost 15 degrees, 1456, I think it is, of Taurus. So wherever that is in your chart, it is speaking to you with some breakthroughs and some innovative breakthroughs about embodying, I would say like embodying the change you wish to see, because it's in the sign of Taurus, and that's the physical body and the senses and the sense world. So like bringing all of our future visioning and everything that's possible for us, for the earth, and embodying it. These last few months of Uranus being in the sign retrograde since last August, it's been giving us pause to go back and look and see, how's our progress doing in terms of letting go of where we have been very, very stuck and fixed ideas and ways of being. Taurus can be very stubborn and fixed earth sign. The densest of the earth signs, not bad dense. We need grounding, but sometimes we just need a little shake up. So that's what Uranus has been doing for these past 4 years. It's got another 4 years left. Yeah, 2026. So this is a great opportunity with this new moon, with Uranus being the modern ruler of Aquarius. There is this a new beginning, another nod to that new beginning. Venus and Saturn will be conjunct on Sunday, the 22nd. We start off with this Venus-Saturn conjunction. 46 minutes later, as Venus and Saturn come exactly conjunct, 46 minutes later, Uranus goes direct. So that's a real exciting, the words are coming to me as a change point. Saying earlier about Venus and Saturn being, with Venus conjunct Saturn, there's like this, we're taking a very somber, serious, long-term look at what constitutes, how we connect with each other's, a rational, measured, rational look, devoid of emotion, just like looking to what is the right thing, what needs to be sacrificed. Saturn, right? Endings, death is the traditional planet of death. What needs to be sacrificed in order to move on? Maybe there's some relationship or intimate partnership or a family or a lover or family, a friend that, you realize it's just not going to be working for the long haul. And it's like, no, I'm going to put an end here. And it's just what's best, what is best for everybody, what's best for me, what is best for, the relationship, like reinventing it along more, with a mature eye, with a wise eye. That would be the Aquarian energy. And the Venus and Saturn is like taking a long look and a look at what kind of relationships do we want to cultivate that are grounded in the long term, with integrity and accountability and long-term planning, long-term commitment. So that's kind of the weather that we're feeling right now that we're going to take into early next week. So yeah, and a real commitment to like what kind of solutions and ways, structuring the friendships and the way in which we relate and socialize with Venus, the goddess of socializing, and just taking that more mature, wise look. And it's a real commitment to getting, showing a unity with the brotherhood of man and woman and personhood. So it's just connecting and seeing things in that bigger picture is very kind of where we're feeling the gestalt for this week. It'll get Venus will leave Aquarius, and on January 26th, 27th, depending on your time zone, that will be like a week from today. Today's the 20th. So yes, by the end of the week, Venus will be ingressing into Pisces. Much, much easier for Venus. She's exalted in Pisces. She loves being there. There's a lot of support for that sweet, dreamy, glamorous, Venus loves glamour, and Pisces can be this beautiful, dreamlike fantasy world that's, I think something like the garden in the first Avatar movie, when the guy went on the date with the girl, like, when is that magical garden at night? That was like my favorite part of the movie. It's all these like flowers blooming and these magical little sprites and fairies and what have you. And so Venus's ingress is like going into that beautiful transcendent world, this mystical, magical world. So we might take on, the way in which we'll feel that shift, so it'll get its lessons from long-term planning of Aquarius, and then it'll shift into Pisces, where it'll feel more, dreamy and and I would say compassion and forgiveness. Sweetness of life. Pisces is also about inspiration and art and music and poetry. So we might feel inclined to move in that direction, and we'll be inspired by these kinds of mystical artwork and music and such. Which brings me to my dear friend Erin. She's got the best idea that came. I subscribe, and I'm going to put the link below. Subscribe to her Substack. She's an incredible writer. Her books are fabulous, and her columns. So I always enjoy reading them. Well, this month, let me just tell you real quick. Really fascinating. I thought it was a great idea she had about vision boarding, and I'm thinking, okay, guys, vision board. Let me just pull that up just a second. Okay, I found it. It's called A Secret Message from Psyche. And she talks about a creation of a collage with an open mind and an open heart can reveal to you the mysteries of your life and the greater unfolding. And she shows a picture of what she did here, message from Psyche, right? So this is the idea about, and it's really great. I won't share details. She shows you how to do it, how long it might take, suggestions for music, suggestions for the process. She reminds us that perfection is the enemy of creativity, but it's about allowing consciousness to speak to us. So, the traditional paradigm of the vision board, where we have an idea and we're cutting out pictures, and I've done them, and they really work. I mean, they're fabulous. I even manifested a place when I was living in Manhattan for like 9 years, and I wanted to get out of the city, and I wanted to live on the North Shore of Long Island. And I remember doing not a board, but even just, it was a page in my notebook, and intentions, and I happened to, I wrote what I wanted, this carriage house on the North Shore of Long Island where I always wanted to live. And I got that. And I happened to paste, just to decorate the page, I took a picture of a sailboat, which I thought was cool. Like, it was in like a little piece of junk mail from an insurance folder. And I cut it out and I pasted it on there. I'm thinking, oh, that's a pretty picture, but I'm not a sailor. I just thought it was a pretty picture. Well, guess what? A month later, I not only got the carriage house, it was on the water. I was like, oh, and I'm standing there a month after I move in. I'm like, oh, wow, I had a picture of a sailboat. Well, what was my property adjacent to me was a sailboat marina. And it was this bird sanctuary and a sailboat marina. So it was pretty outrageous. So yes, those work on one level, but I love that Erin talks about, well, what if we took it to a different level? Instead of us, like I would say in my words, willingly creating something from our own will and desire, what if we just became like the empty space and let our consciousness find images, cutting images out and pasting them together, that are just something that called to you, and not to use the mind like, I don't know why I'm picking this picture of, two birds sitting on a branch. Doesn't matter, just something that calls to you. And so let that guide you. and then come up with it. And she describes the process, but I think it's absolutely brilliant. And I want to say, not only just for this new moon, feeling like for the new year, but you have to remember, we've got Saturn coming into Pisces March 7th. So this is a really great way to engage that. When you think about Saturn, you know, make it real, bring me the spreadsheet, you know, ground it. Well, what are we grounding? Pisces, the higher consciousness, the transcendental self. You know, very interesting combination, right? Saturn in the sign of the corporate CEO in this mystical realm. But it's kind of like saying, well, let's make that real. Let's bring that into fruition. So I think this might, you know, really help. So I'm just wanted to share that with you. Oh yeah, one more, I forgot to tell you before I sign off here, the remedy for not just for this full moon and any time that you have inflammation issues, I recommend, I mean, I'm not a doctor here, but I'm just saying this is what's worked for me. With inflammation, turmeric, you know, if you do have that swelling of your ankles and around your ankles and calves for this new moon, and any other situation that comes up, whether it's a new full moon or just anywhere, turmeric, raw turmeric, which you get in health food stores, like little bulb size, you know, this little root, and throw it in. If you have a high speed like Vitamixer, you throw it in there with some water, and then strain it and drink it. Just drink it down real quick. And man, I'll tell you, the curcumin in that, the raw turmeric, kills inflammation. If you have like an achy back or joints, or like the puffing and this inflammation in your ankle, it's a great immune boost. It's like really, really, it's wonderful. I love it. My personal tip is go ahead and brush your teeth with baking soda right away, because baking soda will absorb. Like, I don't want anybody writing me that say they have yellow-green teeth, you know. And just swish your mouth or brush it out with some baking soda to make sure that you know, don't add that to your enamel. But anyway, it does real wonders. And breath work too. With the this is Aquarius season. We've got you know, all that wonderful the future self, embodying this future self, bringing in our light body, our kundalini energy, garnering and cultivating it. It's a very powerful time of the year for that. And talk about a new year, a new beginning, a new us, a higher paradigm of consciousness. So embodying that with breath work, fantastic videos all over the internet, Kundalini yoga breath work. You know, you don't even have to do the yoga part if that's too much for you. Just do what you can, even if you're sitting in a chair and you're doing, you know, ego eradicator. Russell Brand has some, he studied Kundalini yoga. He's got some great ones, but really you can find just about anybody. There's all these yogis on there that'll help us out. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say for this week. I hope you've enjoyed this information, and let me know what you want to do with this new moon. What's calling to you? It is the Chinese New Year for a reason, right? It's, you know, Aquarius season, year of the water rabbit, in case you didn't know. So, all right, have a great one, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much. Much love and blessings to you in this Aquarius season and the new moon. Take care. This is Irlianna Samsara, StarSound Speaks, StarSoundAstrology.com. And if you need a reading to know how to make the best of this year, hit me up. I'd love to help you. All right, take care now. So long.